No, I'm not a writer.
Okay.
And good morning. This is Mike Lodge. I am the business advisor, and I'm glad that you've joined me this bright and cheery day. I'm happy that we have a bright and cheery day. We have no clouds up in the sky here in South Carolina at the moment. It could roll in any moment. We never know. Listen, I'm very concerned about the government because they're so stupid. Okay, let's just admit it. They're stupid. We have a situation where we need to have a budget and we need to have a debt ceiling plan. So McCarthy proposed a debt ceiling plan, and immediately Biden goes out and he pans it and says that McCarthy's debt plan has a huge cut to Americans. When Biden says that, he's not concerned about Americans. He's concerned about the spending ability of the U.S. government. It has nothing to do with Americans. He is so anti-American that he doesn't realize that the growth of government, the growth of spending, the overspending, the waste in spending is out of control in the United States government. And I'm going to talk about McCarthy here because I think that he didn't go far enough. We need to see more cuts in spending. We have too much wasted money that's going out, and there needs to be some consequences when the government does waste money. We have issues where the government has no accounting of what happened to trillions of dollars. But listen, each and every single one of us, we're trying to manage our own budgets, right? And as we are thinking about our families, and as we're thinking about our housing and our heating and cooling of our homes and schooling and everything else, we have to sit down and we have to look at our budgets and we say, okay, well, bye-bye Netflix because we need to spend money on food. We are looking at these things that affect our lives, and we have to make those adjustments in our lives until times are better. But right now, we are forced to do this because government has overspent, and that overspending has created inflation, and that inflation is now creating job cuts, and we are going through this cycle that you and I, we have to manage our money well. And we expect the same thing out of the government. So I'm telling Congress, right now, if you're listening to me, Congress, probably not. They're probably off at some cocktail party. But if you're listening to me, Mr. President, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Leader in the Senate, you did not have the balls to sit down and negotiate a budget and for the American public and for the government. And now you're thinking about raising the debt ceiling and doing it like 1% a year or whatever. I forget what it's called or what he proposed. Because I'm so pissed off because they have had all this time. Listen, we are in January, February, March, and we're into April. They had all this time to come up with a budget that cuts spending, which is needed. Every one of us Americans know that they need to cut their spending. So they need to cut their costs. And yeah, there's going to be some people that are going to be laid off. That's what happens in the real world. As I've told you before, the number one expense item on any balance sheet or any income statement, I should say, is wages and salaries and benefits. And that has exploded over the years. And government just this last year voted to spend some more on 80,000 some odd IRS agents. So see, Biden believes in the growth of government. The American people believe that government needs to be pulled back and say, listen, we need to cut your expenses. You've gone way too far. You've gone to the situation where you have created a problem for the American people. Now, Biden will say, no. All of my bills that I've passed hasn't done anything bad for the American people. It's improved their lives. No, it hasn't. It has improved no one's life. What it has done is created more jobs in the United States government. That's not the direction we want to go. So we have a stupid government. And they refuse to sit down. Biden refuses to sit down and negotiate with Congress. Which has to happen. It needs to happen. But he refuses to do it. Instead, what he wants to do is stand over in this corner or in this basement, wherever he's standing. I don't even know where he's at anymore. And he wants to point fingers. And he wants to say how bad the Republicans are. He wants to say how bad the American people are. Everybody is a MAGA. Everybody is something else. We're extreme. But let me tell you what's extreme. Extreme means responsible government. And right now we do not have a responsible government that will take the time to sit down and talk. Listen, I'm a mediator. And in order for me to get people in the room to talk, they've got to agree to talk. They've got to say, okay, it's time to talk. And we sit down, we set some rules, and we negotiate out whatever needs to be negotiated, whatever conflict is there, whatever business decision that needs to be changed. In mediation, that's what I do. But the government doesn't even want to sit down with the other parties of government. They don't even want to talk to each other. Biden refuses to talk to the Speaker of the House. So how responsible is that? Well, it's so responsible that we have to hold him accountable for what he's not doing for the American people. He can't just say, oh, these cost cuts that McCarthy and the Republicans are proposing are bad for Americans. No, it's only bad for his government. Has nothing to do with you and me. Now, one of the things that really pisses me off, I was reading a article this morning, and it came from Fortune magazine. And the title that struck me, and it hit me right in the face, like a slap in the face. More than $2 trillion in government payment errors have cost taxpayers over the past 2 decades. Which means that the government is not monitoring what they're spending on, and they make really bad, expensive errors. And the biggest ones, because they listed here in this article, let me get to it just one second. It says this, it says, in progress, but the GAO still sees payment errors as a big problem. The General Accounting Office of the United States sees that the payment errors are a big problem. 78% of these errors were contained within 5 programs last year. And you know what they are? Medicaid, Medicare, the Paycheck Protection Program, unemployment insurance, and the Earned Income Credit. Those are programs that Americans depend upon during tough times, especially the PPP loans. I filed an appeal on a PPP loan because they denied a $100,000 loan to a client of mine who needed that money. They were a healthcare company, and it was during the pandemic where they had to keep paying their employees to provide the support to the elderly in their physical care. Just now, this last week, we got a notice after appeal. I did 2 appeals. And finally, they've come back and said, okay, we agree with you. We are going to go ahead and suggest that they forgive the $100K. But see, here was a company that truly needed it. They were supporting skilled nursing facilities and long-term care facilities during the pandemic when nurses were going home with COVID. Even their employees had got COVID. But they were still trying to support the healthcare system and get these individuals that needed physical therapy and occupational therapy and speech therapy. Those things need to keep going on. You just cannot stop that during a pandemic. They needed to be able to pay their employees. In fact, my client is still waiting for payment from February of 2021. So when we see massive spending, and when there are errors in that spending, we know there is a problem. And within this budget that they're setting, what they should really do is say, okay, we have got to stop these errors in the United States government and spending. If there's fraud, there needs to be higher penalties on that fraud. But you see, the government doesn't think that way. They don't think logically. They don't think with common sense. And they don't even seem to worry that they're wasting this money. I mean, $2 trillion. Come on, guys. That's a lot of money to have wasted. Department of Defense still can account for billions of dollars. They don't even know where it went to. So who do we hold accountable for that? And we are held accountable. If we have lost that much money out of our businesses, somebody has to be held accountable. So what I'm suggesting is that, listen, guys, let's be adults here. Mr. President, be an adult. Stop being a politician and be an adult that actually cares about America, and sit down with the Republicans and the Democrats and everybody on the other side and hash out a plan, because you've overspent, you've overwasted, you've overtaxed, and you need to get back to reality, because you are the cause of inflation and recession and all of these failures that we're seeing in the economy today. And as Americans, we are holding you accountable. Don't ever think that you can get away with it by your lying, because we have seen through the lies. Mr. President, we have seen through every single lie that you've told, because every single time you come out and talk, every time you tweet, every time you post something, it's a lie. And Americans are tired of this lie, because they see that America is in trouble. Our dollar is being replaced by Chinese yuan and the ruble and all kinds of different foreign exchanges out there. Our dollar is weakening because of the policies that you have put in place. Your policies have never been pro-America. They have always been anti-America. And it's time that you guys sit down and hash things out. Stop playing politics. Enough is enough. Listen, if you would like to have a session with me, if you have a business question, and listen, if you have a business question, you can send me an email at thebusinessadvisor@zmail.com. Z as in zebra, zmail.com. Thebusinessadvisor@zmail.com. If you would like to make an appointment with me and sit down and talk about your business and issues, it's all done confidentially. And all you have to do is go to www.lodge-co.com, and you can book an appointment with me online. Everybody, talk to your member of Congress. So write a letter to the president. Do whatever you have to do and say, don't be fools any longer, and sit down and negotiate a budget and a debt ceiling. Talk with you soon. Love you guys. Bye-bye.